welcome to another episode of Success Ladder Podcast. My name is Paul Bryan, and as you know, here we inspire, we elevate, and we ensure that you live a purposeful life. Today, I want us to talk about a very important topic. We are going to have a very important discussion with our guest today, Lamech, and whatever we are going to talk about is how to become the spark that changes the world. So Lamech is a passionate environmentalist and also a leadership enthusiast. So we are going to have a very, very inspiring conversation with Lamech. Lamech, maybe introduce yourself, tell us who you are and all that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me today. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Lamech, but I have a very good nickname on socials called the local man. So my name is Lamech. I'm very passionate about environment, as Brian has said. I strive as a young person, I strive to see if I can be able to make change. So very passionate about change making, very passionate about environment, and of course, very passionate about giving back to the community and of course molding other leaders. So matters leadership, matters environment, and matters of championing for young people are things that are very dear to my heart.
Amazing. So Lamech, maybe let's go back to your childhood. Let's go back to the roots. How was your childhood like, and what did you dream to become when you were a child? Or were you just born a leader? Were you just born loving nature? Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah, interesting, because I think, okay, my childhood, part of it is, part of it is traumatizing, but another part of it is good. So I'm one person, I think some people have followed my story. I'm one person who lost both parents at a very early age. Yeah. Actually, barely 6 months, I lost my mom to meningitis. Then before I even clocked a year, my dad passed on. So I've been surviving through relatives, through friends, not friends, but through even, what do you call them? Through strangers who believed in me. So you find that in my childhood, I didn't stay like in one place. So maybe at this point, I'm staying with my grandmother, of which I normally give her a shout out. Being my grandmother's grandson will always be my greatest honor in life, because I know how she's struggled with me, you know, an old woman, then you're having a small child, still supposed to breastfeed and so forth. Then later on went to stay with my auntie. So, but anyway, it was within the same environment, that in western part of Kenya, in Sia, a very small village that is not so much known. But matters environment and matters leadership, I think. For me, I didn't imagine that when I was young, but of course, when I was growing up, I always loved to, you know, nature, you know, growing up in up country, you know, cities, the setup of the city is very different. Yeah. But, you know, in the up country, nature is everything. Whatever you're going to do, you go to the farms, you do what, you go and play in the mud, you know. That pure ethic, or how it feels to be out of nature and just enjoying yourself. So it's something that I really loved enough. But on leadership, I think it's packed, and this brings me into this conversation that I normally have, that are leaders born or are leaders made. What do you think?
Both. You know, for me, it's like, for me, I would say it's like talent.
Yeah.
You can be born a talented footballer, but again, you have to make yourself exceptional.
Of course.
So you can be born a leader, but then you have to add some spices into that leadership, which means you have to work on developing your leadership skills, because everything grows even in leadership.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I'm of the same philosophy, because all of us, in a way, we are born leaders. But for you to be an effective leader, there are sets of skills, there are things that you need to learn, there are things or values that you need to acquire for you to be a leader. So with me, I think my leadership started back in primary school. I was a very tiny boy, but I think I was the youngest in our class. Then at that point, I used to be a very bright student, so I was very near to the teachers. Of course, I wasn't a snitch, but of course, teachers liked me a lot because of how courageous I was, even though I was young. Yeah. But I had leadership qualities, and I could lead people. In urban setup, I think it's different. Yeah. In rural areas, you might find you're in class 6, but you're in class 6 with a person who has beards, very big body. I'm not sure if it's because they eat well or something. Yeah, but I started off my leadership over there. Then I think later on I went through high school. In high school, I wasn't I think my early years, yes, I was, but later on I wasn't so much. But I think now the bit of leadership came after high school, when I transitioned now to campus, Kenyatta University, is now when leadership came in handy. And from that point to now, I've been in so many leadership positions, of course, of service. But for me, leadership is not about position. Yeah. Leadership is about influence and the impact that you make in people.
True.
So there is no need of myself called Lamech or I'm leading this, that it's just about the title, but there's nothing that I'm doing, or rather there's no impact I'm making.
Yeah.
So I've always strived to, whenever position I get myself or whatever time I get to be of service, I call it service, I try to see if I can be able to leave a legacy. And one way of leaving a legacy, apart from just doing impactful things, is the people that you work with.
Yeah.
We say leaders create more leaders.
True.
If I'm a leader today, I need to create more leaders, but not followers.
Yeah.
I need to lead as a servant leader, because I've been in a space of leading volunteers. You know, it's different from like a job setup whereby you are managing people. That you have they're getting salary. So I've been in a position of leading volunteers. You can picture this. You are a student. You're leading fellow students. And it's purely voluntary. They are not paying. You are not paying them anything. But at the end of the day, you require them at least to contribute something towards the activities you do.
True.
So it has really taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really have to point out is about having values, but also having emotional intelligence. Because you can't lead volunteers if you are, for example, short-tempered.
Yeah.
If, for example, you are the person who always commands. People would like to see you doing what you're telling them. Before I tell you, you want to do this, am I doing it myself? And so forth. So I think those are some of the values that I think I've really built over time.
Yeah.
And of course, the environment, everything else, when I now joined campus, I think they came in handy, because even the course I chose, like for me, you know, in our normal African setup, you're told, I want you to go to school, I want you to do engineering, I want you to be a doctor, and so forth.
Yeah.
For me, because I always had that passion, and of course, the people I was staying with, my auntie was kind enough, so she didn't have so much pressure on me, like, I want to do this. I went for what I'm passionate about, environment.
Yeah.
And even when I was selecting universities to go, I really knew this is what I wanted to do, environmental science, and also aspects of community.
Yeah.
And by good luck, that's what I also got. So you see the mixture of profession and passion.
Passion. Yeah.
Yeah, the results
very
are quite
important.
incredible. Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of leadership,
Yes.
do you think anyone can be a leader? And there's a question you asked me, so I want to ask you it in a different way.
Yes.
What do you think separates a true leader and those leaders who chase titles?
All right. Yes. I think first, yes, in a certain percentage, I'll say 50% yes, everyone can be a leader, but 50% no.
Yeah.
You remember we are talking about the issues of being born and made.
Yeah.
And I think, as I mentioned, for me as Lamech, I define leadership as service. I'm able to serve people, and not only serving them, but transform. Like, I have a vision as a leader.
Yeah.
I would like us, but I don't like to do it alone so that I only build my name, but the people who I work with. You know, there are leaders who, if I'm somewhere, I must be known I'm there, because you're the chairperson, you're the and so forth. Then there are people, even if they're not around, like someone will just think there's something missing, because like there's that value, or rather there's that atmosphere that you built for yourself. Even if you're not in the room, people will always say, I think there's someone who is missing there. But of course, as you as a leader, we believe in you because we see what you do. In a way, it is inspiring us, or in a way, it's making us to feel better, or even encouraging us and motivating us. Like myself, I think I get so many DMs on many social media handles telling me, Lamech, you're doing amazing things. Like for myself, are you sure? Am I really doing it? You know, you're trying to see someone is seeing potential. Me, I'm doing my best. And maybe that time I feel like, I'm overstrained and so forth. Yeah. So back to your question, I think the main difference is in regards to some people. I think there are certain values that they miss, or they have the skill set that they miss. Yeah. And that skill set is what will make them feel like I'm a manager but not a leader. I just want to be there to be called this. Maybe it's because I wanted to achieve something, so that's why I engage in leadership. So it's not like intentional. So the word is intentionality. Yeah. As a leader, I have to be very intentional about leadership. I have to specialize it. I have to know what I want to do, whom I want to do it with, because at the end of the day, you are leading a group of people. True. Of course, as much as we say we are all in our, like, of course, I'm a leader by myself and I can lead myself, but the other aspect of leadership is about leading others. True. And by leading others, I normally have this, is it a philosophy or something I like to share more? It starts by leading self. Yeah. Leadership starts by self. True. If I'm able to lead myself, then I'm able to lead a team. Then now I'm able to lead change. Leading self, leading teams, and leading change. Oh, so that's what will make the difference between someone who prefers to be called just a leader by the title and the true leader who is effective and can be able to do something that is impactful.
you are that. You start by leading yourself, then you lead a team, and then you lead a change. Amazing, amazing, Lamech. So I want us to go back to the issue of environment.
Yes.
Yeah, you said by the time you're applying for your university, for your college,
Yes.
you already knew whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So at what point did you really like start becoming passionate about life? At what point did you realize that I want to be an environmentalist?
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe we can tie this together. As you answer that, I also want you to tell people why taking care of environment is something that we should not be doing for government, but we should be doing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I think my passion sparked after I joined campus.
Yeah.
And I think I was one of those, what do we call them? Those very aggressive people. So on the second week after I joined university, and you know how campus life is, it's not like high school. Here you have freedom and so forth. And I wanted to join a community.
Yeah.
Of course, for me, I had a picture of what I am studying, I need to find a way of applying what I'm studying. So by the second week, and there was a meeting in our school. We have like a very vibrant environmental club called KUNEK. Big shout out to all the leaders who've led that organization, that student-led association. So there was a Kenyatta University Environmental Club that I was able to go for my first meeting. So during my first meeting, I think I was able to interact with a few people, and I think I was only the first year I think we were only 2 or 3 of us. But I think from that point, they feel like there's that feeling that people had, I think this person we should have him within our leadership and so forth and so forth. And later on, I became a leader within that club. So I'll talk about another club later on, which I was also part of. Yeah. Then after now getting involved in this, because these are young people, these are university students, for me, I think I learn best from my peers. If I'm seeing a fellow young person doing something amazing, that inspires me more than someone who has 10 years of experience. True. Because this is someone who, like in one way, we are in the same shoes with him or her, but at least he's doing something. So the people I found within this environment of environmental club really inspired me for the third years and so forth. And we used to do a lot of these outdoor activities. Today we are having maybe tree planting, today we are having community sensitization and so forth. So that passion grew. So the passion, and now I added on to the leadership. Because at the end of the day, for you to win twice, I think it's not all about passion, but are you practicing it and so forth. So that's how the passion grew, and the people I was able to surround myself with when you are doing this, and the people also I've met along the way, because at the end of the day, we say leadership is about learning, and learning never stops. There's this joke that goes, the day you stop to learn, know that you are slowly dying. Because learning is a lifelong thing that happens. So the people I've met along the way, and of course, most of us in the environmental space, the story of the late Professor Wangari Maathai is really an inspiration to most, and I think it will, the legacy still lives on. And just seeing people who do everything they can, not because they don't have any other things to do, but because they've intentionally said, I want to do this, because if not me, who else will do it? And I think we suffer from this syndrome, and it brings me to the second bit of your question, that I know you as Brian, you need to do, like for instance, in a job setup, if you are maybe there are someone who is a secretary and so forth, so we know everyone needs to do something based on what he or she is paid for something. Then that I think has affected us a lot, because people are very ignorant. True. I say because I know there are kanjos, or because I know there's people from the Ministry of Environment who are like now positioned to do this, then I don't need to do it. These are fun facts, and I say it quite oftenly. I think every one of us is an environmentalist. You know why? The fact that you're able to breathe in the oxygen that we have in the atmosphere, the fact that you are able to enjoy all the resources, the ecosystem services that are being offered. Even if you are an engineer, a doctor, none of us can be able to survive without the environment. So it's one thing that actually brings all of us together. And the much we can do to it is not to destroy it, because it's like you're destroying your livelihood. Environment is part and parcel of your life. So the moment you're destroying it, you're losing part of your life. And I think most people don't realize that until it's too late. And it brings me to the other issue that we're having within the environmental space. Right now, the issue to do with climate change, which is sparking so much discussions. And up to this time, you'll find there's also a number of people who still believe maybe it's not true, it's a scam and so forth. But I think if you are someone who really observes, what is going on.
Yeah.
Some things I don't think even you need to go to school to learn about or to be a scientist to know, because some things are very obvious. In the last decade, we've had the most hottest decade in the whole planet. 2024 actually marked the most hottest decade. Year that we've been had, and these ones are things that are not happening because like they are natural. No. Some bits are natural, but most of them are attributed to what we do as citizens or what we do in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
If you are polluting the environment, if you are doing deforestation, if you are like doing things carelessly, having the mindset that someone else will need to do it, then we are ending up losing it at the end of the day. Then another thing that I would like to share in regards to that is about as young people, let's do some statistics.
Yeah.
Right now, demographically, if you talk of the whole world, let's say maybe Africa, close to 60% are young people. By young people, these are people below 30 years and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with our generation, because we are growing up in a generation that is very innovative, very creative, and we have so many things within our disposal.
Yeah.
We have social media, we have so forth. Let me not talk about what has been going on in Kenya with the Gen Z and so forth.
Yeah.
Like, things are changing. And change is always inevitable. As things change, we find different ways of doing things. We normally say, I can't be able to solve a problem if I'm using the same solution I tried and failed. It brings us to the aspect of seeing, is there something else we need to do, or is there something we need to do differently? So as young people, and I'm really happy, I won't put a blame on young people. Young people are really trying. Yeah. And right now, even for you, maybe one way or the other, you've interacted with young people trying to set up a movement, set up an organization, just to do something. Sometimes it's the system that fails us. Yeah. But for us, we won't allow the system, now that the system is not working, should we just step back and say, we've given up?
And keep on blaming the
and
system.
Keep on, no, you have to. So at the end of the day, what I'll say, it starts from yourself, just like leadership.
Yeah.
If I would like to conserve the environment, start from within myself. Within my house, how do I dispose? Do I use water bottle or do I use bottles? Because at the end of the day, there is no need of me going out to preach for someone to do something if I'm not doing it by myself. So it starts from you, where you are at your workplace, where you are at your school, or where you are at home. Within your environment, what can you be able to do? These small habits. And I think as humans, we learn a lot by the behavior change is very, very important, because we might be going for huge things or bigger things, despising these small things that call behavior, because the mindset is everything. Yeah. Imagine if everyone is cautious about environment and starts from home. Why will you be having so much baggage just anywhere within the streets and so forth? Yeah. So it starts with individual responsibilities, and that is for you and me. And change won't come if we wait for it to happen. It's for us to rise into it. Change is here, and change is you, and change is me. And I believe everyone out there can be able to do this. So it's not something that should be for any specific group of people.
Yeah. Yes. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you for those wonderful insights. Speaking of environment still. Yes. You see, I'll give an example. Today, maybe there is a quarry that is starting somewhere. Yes. And from your perspective as an environmentalist, that one is affecting the environment. Yes. Or there are people who have been cutting trees, burning charcoal, and that is their source of income. Yes. So when you're going to tell these people that you see whatever you are doing is not right, maybe they were born, that is what they saw their parents are doing, that is what their grandparents were doing, and then you are coming to tell them, you know whatever you're doing is not right for our environment. Yes. So this leads me to the question, what are some of the challenges you face when you try to raise awareness about environment protection and all the conversation around environment, especially to those people who they are destroying environment, either because they know or they don't know, but they're doing this because they were born when whatever they're doing was being done. Yes. So convincing these people, to me, I feel like it might be very difficult. So what are some of the challenges you face when you are trying to raise awareness in relation to environment?
Okay, thank you for that. That's a very important question. And I think you've mentioned something very, very important that I think as environmentalists, and even within the different projects we do, we face a lot. Yeah. So there's something called livelihoods. let's give an example, as you mentioned, and there is this, we have economists. We've always had this fight between business people, or economists, and environmentalists.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I'll say what you're doing is bad and is destroying the environment.
Yeah.
Then someone who is a business person is saying, but of course I'm going to have money on it and I'm going to create livelihoods.
Yeah.
So what has been the biggest challenge over time is trying to see the interlinkage of these two and balancing.
Yeah.
Most oftenly we find that, of course, we want to make money. And I think we've gone to an extent whereby people prefer making profit before planet. And I think the two can't work.
True.
There is also another, not a joke, but I say, if you feel that economy is very important, try counting your money while, what do you call it, while you're not breathing in. And of course, if money was made on trees, many people will be planting, of course, and so forth. So quite often, even in the work that I do within the advocacy work, or even the environmental work, if I'm supposed to maybe go to a community and do a project, there are two ways that you'll find. First of all, there's something we call indigenous knowledge. So indigenous knowledge is like, for instance, if I'm a Maasai and growing up, I know these are the things that we needed to do, maybe to conserve environment and do that and so forth. Then, as I come as an environmentalist, or I have this idea, I think I should be curating, or rather not creating something new. So co-creation.
Yeah.
You with your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think it's not only environmental projects, and I think you've dealt, maybe you've seen how donor funding do work.
Yeah.
It's like a charity. I'm coming. It's like I'm coming to do for you, and it's which should not work. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, true.
Sustainability comes in if I'm doing it with you. Like if I come to your house, you
Yeah.
know where it leaks, where there is a challenge. So you're the best person who can find solutions to do that. Maybe the challenge you might be having, maybe in terms of finance, or maybe in terms of how to just maneuver around it. And it's being the aspect of like having people on board, working with these people so that they have this ownership of this project. And one thing that I've always, before I get into the challenges, is that when you mentioned about someone has been doing something over time, and now I'm coming and saying them, no, this is very wrong, you need to change, it's not easy. And some people, it might even end into conflicts of interest and so forth. So I'll give an example in this way. So for instance, if I'm telling someone, because you've been cutting firewood all your life and doing all this and so forth, so yes, you're telling me this is wrong, but are there alternatives? That's what that matters the most. If there's alternative, then people will be interested.
Yeah.
And if there's this alternative, other than that, is there a way they can get livelihood? So like, because at the end of the day, we need to eat, we need to have these basic necessities.
Yeah.
So whatever I'm doing in a way should be able to contribute to both. Not that, yes, I'm conserving, yes, but now I'm not building into the livelihoods. So you'll find, for instance, if you have to do a project, let me give the most basic one. You're going to a restoration project in somewhere in Mau.
True.
And of course, there have also been a lot of conversations about it, maybe people being displaced and so forth and so forth. I won't just take a bus from Nairobi and go there and start doing something. No, it doesn't work. I have to work with people who are there already, who are already on the ground and already know how they do their things.
Yeah.
And of course, not just working with them, but saying, at the end of the day, yes, we are planting trees or we are doing this. How are we going to gain something? Because I think as people, we never like so much incentives, of course, to be tied within that. And one thing that you can be able to do, of course, it's capacity building is I think sometimes we do assume that everyone knows everything.
True.
But sometimes you just need someone, it's not even called capacity building, but rather capacity development, because the process, I'll tell you this today, but I know learning you keep learning each and every day.
True.
And therefore, for instance, if you're doing that, and maybe there's an opportunity, we want to do this and we don't have seedlings. As a community-based organization, are you able to maybe maneuver around, come up with a tree nursery? So at the end of the day, we'll be buying these seedlings from you, and of course you're getting something, and so forth and so forth. So those are some things we are looking into. But now getting back into your question about challenges, as a young person, I think it's not very easy.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, people do look upon some of the things like you are environmentalist, so all you do is like planting trees and so forth. Is then don't you have any other things to do? But I think most people get it wrong. Environment is quite wide.
Yeah.
It's only that the most basic thing that people know, maybe it's about tree planting, cleanup, and so what they are a lot into that space. So I think the first challenge is that most people are very ignorant. I won't lie about that.
Yeah.
Most people know like someone have gone to the university.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as someone who at least have learned a bit, there are some things that you need not to be told.
Yeah.
You need to they need to come natural from yourself. And I think most people are still ignorant about matters environment. Then the second thing, I think sometimes convincing young people is not easy. More so, you mentioned about sometimes, of course, I've worked within a volunteer space. I volunteer almost 99% of my time, but not everyone would have that passion. Not everyone you'll call them and say, we're having an activity, we need you to come, they'll show up. No. So there's been that challenge of trying to, of course, yes, we've tried as young people, but I think still, as I mentioned, we are so many and there's so much you can be able to do as young people. So that's also been a challenge. And of course, the support. We are saying that the systems, in a way, they are rotten. So like myself, I have a very bright idea of what I would like to do. But maybe sometimes if I don't have the financial resources, I'm not able to actualize it. So that's also a very big challenge. And another big challenge that I'll mention is about like what do we call it? The other challenge that I would like to mention about the work that I do is that still most people, as I mentioned, most people think that these are things that need to be done there are people who need to do them, not ourselves. So there's that way of saying, it's not my thing, let you do it. But also the other challenge has been trying to, as we grow as young people, we always learn also from the people who've gone after us. And I think we've gone to a stage whereby people take advantage of young people because you are desperate for the opportunities, because you are desperate, you want to do this and maybe you don't have, so you end up being manipulated. People take advantage of you. You find people going into very big boardrooms, maybe you're just brought there for photos and so forth, good reports written. So there's been that challenge of, I think some people call it tokenism, like, because you are here and you need to be seen, you've done this and this, so people take advantage of it, which is very, very wrong. I'm a champion of meaningful youth engagement. As a young person, if I'm supposed to be involved in something, then you bring me last minute, it shows that you're not intentional about it, or you just want to take advantage of what you do and so forth, which has also been a challenge. But of course, for me, despite, there are so many other challenges, but despite all those challenges, I take them as learning opportunities, because at the end of the day, if we let challenges overtake whatever we want to do, then we won't make any progress. So the challenges that I've been going through are like stepping stones and learning opportunities that make me think bigger, that makes me find different solutions, and also just work in my mind that things won't always be a straight line. Sometimes there are bumpy places, but at the end of the day, you need to get somewhere. Yes.
Awesome. Talking about the young people, there is a question I keep asking myself, and today I want you to help me maybe try and answer it. Do you think that young people today understand their role in leadership and sustainability?
Yes, I do. And I'm very confident because as a young person, I think it's very important and it's something that it's very dear to my heart. Most of them do, but at the end of the day, there's also a certain percentage, as you mentioned, some are there for opportunities or for the grid that I want to do this, or I want to gain this and I have to grab it. If it doesn't work, I'm gone. And it brings me back to what I mentioned to you about young people having different organizations. You'll find a young person maybe today, because I've seen they are not going in the environmental space, and seems that there are so much good things. So I come up with an organization today, then 2-3 months I see, it's not the case. So it's like, what I thought could be there is not what I'm gaining in. So I'll say my answer would be 50 to 60 yes, most young people are now acknowledging the fact that they need to get into the space and lead the sustainability, not to wait for something else. But also there are also other young people who are just there because it's like, what do you normally have it? Normally say it's like a wave that is passing by, so everyone is there. And once it's gone, it doesn't end up good for them in a way. Yes.
You see, when you talk about change, sometimes you bring up a change and people don't receive it. They are very slow, or sometimes they reject it. How do you keep yourself motivated when you find yourself in such situations?
Yeah, of course, motivation is everything. And I think, as I mentioned to you, I'm one person who really believes in myself. And I'm one person who believes that it's not only about myself, but it's because about other people out there. As I mentioned to you, I've been a product of strangers. Strangers, and I'm just trying to think through if it were not strangers or my cousins or my relatives, maybe I would have not survived until this age, because you can imagine that livelihood and all that. The motivation that I get is that I have the urge to leave this place better than I found it. And for me to keep myself motivated, of course there will always be negative energies. There are people who will always tell you this, no, this can't be done, and so forth and so forth. But at the end of the day, there are very few people, maybe just one person, who sees potential in you and encourages you to go forward. But of course, I'll say at the end of the day, for me, the main motivation has been the urge to make change, not only for myself, but for the community and everyone else out there who can be able to tap into this opportunity. Because at the end of the day, I would like to leave a legacy that I tried to do something, and I didn't try it alone, but there are people I tried it with. And that, I think, the legacy that can inspire other people as time goes by. So it's not a one-time thing, but a process. But of course, sometimes it can be overwhelming and it's good to slow down, but not slow down to an extent of you giving up completely. No. You have to focus on the people that give you energy and the ways or other things that you can do to re-energize yourself.
Yeah, it's true, and I agree with you. It's always very important at times to take a break, restructure, and then you come back stronger. I want us to wind up, but I promise we are going to have another episode with you soonest. I'm so interested in your journey. I'm so interested in your journey. So we are going to have an episode where you'll be telling us your journey up to where you are today and everything around you. But for today, I want to give you an opportunity to maybe to say the last thing. And as you say that thing, if your story was to inspire even one person today, what would you want them to walk away with?
All right. Quite amazing. So my message is this. Quite oftenly, we do think that there are things that are beyond us, and I think this one, in a way, makes us to be, or rather position us into a place whereby we feel like we are discomforted or we are not able to find any solutions. But solutions lie within ourselves. And in everything that we do, be it within the environmental space, climate space, or even it's about the intentionality. It's about the goodwill. And for you specifically specializing and say, this is what I want to do. And if I was to inspire one person right here today, of course I know I inspire many, but just one person, what I would like him or her to go away with is that change starts with him or her. So the moment he or she realizes that, even if he or she can't do the exact thing that I'm doing, there's a small thing that he can be able to do wherever he or she is. So it's the power of doing small things. Imagine if you're doing a small thing here in Nairobi, someone else is doing. Imagine if you add all those together. So you should not always despise the act of doing small things, because these small things are what makes up bigger things. It starts from those small things. So the power of small things and the power of people coming together, very like-minded, and people championing for change. And I believe even you who is watching this, you can be part of this journey. Find what you can be able to do and stick into it. Get people within this space, because most often we learn from the people who've gone through it. Find a community. And of course, for me, I think, find somewhere you can be able to volunteer. Even, yes, I know life catches up, you have a lot of things you do. Like myself, I'm part of Rotaract, and that has led me to do other amazing things within the community as well, apart from just my journey. Yes, so you can do it, and remember, change starts with you. So be the change that you wish to see in this world.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lamech. It was a pleasure having you, and I hope to see you again. Yes. You listen to it, the great insights from Lamech. For being the spark that changes the world. And Lamech has put it clearly that it starts with you. So if you want to change the world, it starts by changing yourself, changing a small team, changing your surrounding, then you will change the world. That's it from today. For today, my name is Paul Bryan, and this is Success Ladder Podcast. And we inspire the world. Thank you very much.